How do you become an actor if you have no experience?
The answer is, it comes down to...
This is the Elevated Look Show, hosted by Mark Stampfly.
We're here now with Nathan Baesel to talk about acting. Some of the bigger questions that people have about acting, the acting industry, and I know you have, with me, a new program, Breakthrough Acting.
I would like to talk about that.
Definitely going to talk about that, but I think, I was thinking of all the questions that people might have that would be interesting to hear the answer to from your perspective. And the first one I thought that would be really relevant is, how do you become an actor if you have no experience?
It comes down to what do you think of acting? How are you defining acting? Because we're always doing imaginative play in our day-to-day, right? So who are the people that you hold to you that aid you in your imaginative play? Do you have a D&D group, by any chance? I just started D&D over COVID for the first time in my life. I've been playing D&D, and you might not think of this as an acting exercise, but it can absolutely be an opportunity to delve into imaginative play in a fantastic way, right?
Yeah.
There are all kinds of windows of opportunity. How do you avail yourselves of those opportunities? Do you? There's, reading and research and all of that kind of thing, but I think the thing that really engages people most and probably has most benefit ultimately is what actively engages them in their day-to-day.
But now, I think you're 100% right. I think there's all these kind of things that maybe we do that we are kind of playing or are acting in our lives where we don't really know. Maybe we're practicing that aspect of ourselves. But
we absolutely are practicing that aspect of ourselves. The difference between the kind of play that we allowed ourselves when we were 6 years old in a sandbox and the kind of play we allow ourselves now, the facility for imaginative play hasn't decreased at all in that span of time. Maybe the muscularity of our permission to play has atrophied a little bit.
Sure.
That's where classes come into play.
Okay. But now, I think that's a fantastic answer, but I think other people would be like, okay, well, I hear what you're saying. I do D&D or I do read, but I want to be an actor. I want to get into the acting industry. I don't have, I have this, but how does that translate? What do I do? I feel like I don't have any real world experience. Can I do this?
I know that you were holding off on getting into the breakthrough acting stuff, but that's, you're setting up for me what has been the key issue that's been motivating for me to get these classes in shape and to present them, is there are so many people that even with experience, even with some training, even with schooling, and they still have a lot of, it still feels vague. What's my process? How do I take a script and have the confidence of a process to which I can stand on the other side of things and feel like what I have to offer is not just going to recommend the material, but it's also going to recommend me as well. And that's what we're doing. With the boot camp, we're setting down the fundamentals that somebody is going to be able to apply these rules, essentially, to any kind of work that they're doing, any kind of collaboration that they're about. And then with the scene study class, the weekly class, it's about applying those techniques, applying those rules to working opportunities, script opportunities. If people are working on a project, you bring that in, you work on it, you apply the fundamentals, and then see where the material takes you there.
So short answer, sign up for Breakthrough Acting.
Basically is what I'm saying. But what we're trying to do is give people a foundation that they can feel sturdy standing upon.
No, I totally get it. I'm super excited for the program. Like I told you before, I have no reason to promote or sell programs that I don't care about. And like this one, I absolutely believe in being a part of and experiencing it.
You've been helping develop it.
Yeah, I've seen, the power that it has, and I think it can only, like, the sky is the limit for this thing, and it's very, very different than a lot of other stuff out there.
It's completely different. I've had a lot of training, and this is very different from any approach that I've ever encountered. And I might just be blowing sunshine at my ass, but I feel like these are the techniques that, man, if only I'd had these 30 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like, I don't want to feel like we're talking about the program, and I want to talk about it more. But, like, even playing, like, the other side, they're just trying to promote their thing. Like, what about the person who isn't in, Southern California, who can't get to breakthrough acting? There's no, hopefully in the future we're going to have a digital product up and have something available to people. But, like, what if you're in Kansas, Are you telling them, hey, move out to LA and get in this program, or move to New York and get in something there? Like, I don't have any, I'm in Kansas, I don't have any opportunities. What am I going to do? I don't have any experience, but I love acting, I love to act. Or are they just doing it locally? Like, what would you tell those people?
I would say, first of all, the sense that there aren't any opportunities locally. There are always opportunities locally. It's how attentive are you to what those opportunities are, and how willing are you to avail yourselves of those opportunities. But the larger picture is, for especially people who aspire to commercial acting, the task isn't how are you getting yourself engaged and trained and attuned to, working professionally. The real trick is, what are you doing to engage yourself in a professional way when you're in between jobs? Because for the professional actor, there's a whole lot of time, a painful amount of time in between gigs, right? That's just a fact of life. And so, especially for those individuals who are aspiring to a profession in acting, what are you doing to develop your opportunities in between those jobs? What are you doing for yourself to promote yourself? What are you doing for yourself to engage in projects that interest you, that fascinate you, that compel you? Because I guarantee you, the more lit up you are about your interest and your own projects, first of all, the more impassioned you're going to pursue them. And second of all, the more likelihood that you're going to turn somebody else on by your turn on. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You start creating coattails for yourself, then other people want to jump on. The more of a kind of draft you're building for yourself, the more opportunity you give other people to draft off of your momentum. The more interest you create as a commercial prospect.
You're giving yourself a better chance. Absolutely. So what if someone's like, that's exactly what I want to do. Like, I do want to do that. Where do I go now? Like, what does that look like? What would you recommend for that person who's like, yeah, I do have this free time, but I'm not sure how to utilize it?
Writing. Are you writing? Are you developing ideas? Are you developing projects? And just even basically, fundamentally, are you spending time taking a look at yourself, at what your process is about, how you approach work, what gets in the way of your productivity in that work? Are you addressing, we talk about breakthrough acting. Well, a real partner in the breakthrough process is breakdowns. They just happen. What gets in the way of your success? What gets in the way of your productivity? Are you aware of those things? Can you address those things? Those are things that people, just on a very fundamental level, should be addressing in their day-to-day, whether they're working in an acting class or working on a project. Having self-attunement and awareness is just, I can't even say how crucial that is for somebody having a sense of what their instrument is and maybe what their instrument is needing.
Absolutely. I actually like what you said, just kind of that, kind of telling someone to really take time to look inside yourself. I think that a lot of people get caught up in, okay, there are the people that are really committed. They're like, they come to LA and they're like, yeah, I'm doing all the acting classes. There's plenty that aren't, but they're doing the acting classes, they're being in the USC short film, they're doing this, but they're like kind of trying to hit these little marks, but then they haven't taken time to just kind of sit back and say, wait a second, why am I doing this?
Right.
What am I doing? What's my method? Like,
well, you said hitting the marks, and those are things that I think we all feel like we need, those external markers, indicators that we're on a path, we're on a course. But as well as I do, probably a number of people who pursue all those externals because they're avoiding the internal. And my goodness, if we have learned anything in the last 2 years dealing with the kind of quiet that COVID has created, enduring the quiet, the sometimes uncomfortable quiet that COVID has created, if we haven't spent some of that time looking inward and dealing with the inward, then COVID won. We lost and COVID won. This is it's a real gift in a lot of ways.
No,
I never would have seen that at the beginning of things. I did everything that I could to avoid stillness.
Yeah, it was like shocking, and it was like, wow, like kind of your life's turned upside down a bit, and but you're right. In a way, it was a blessing to have that time.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, with all that said, are acting classes necessary? Is it necessary for someone to study, in person, online, in a school, or are there people that just have it and they can just go and start, applying for, going to casting calls and submitting self-tapes?
I think somebody's industriousness should always be fostered and encouraged. That should always be nurtured. But there are pursuits that need to take place at the same time that are more about challenge. We're not always looking for, even when we've got projects that we're working on, collaborators that we're working with, those aren't always about challenge. Those are about production. Those are about figuring out how do we solve the acting problems that there are in whatever the project is. Where an acting class comes into play is creating an environment where people feel safe to be challenged. We don't always seek out challenge. Challenge is often something to be avoided. In acting class, a good acting class, and certainly what we're trying to do, is provide a space where people feel like not only are they encouraged to push themselves beyond what they see as familiar and comfortable, but that's a necessary component of the work, is for people to see that who they are when they started isn't bad, isn't wrong, but where they end up is different. And getting people to go on that process, that kind of evolutionary process, which can kind of be bumpy, it can kind of be uncomfortable, but if there's trust there, then people can end up different on the other side, and that is a massive breakthrough, in my opinion, when people have had an experiential process where their perspective has been shifted because of throwing themselves into the unknown like that.
So what if, playing devil's advocate here, somebody's like, yeah, I tried classes, not for me, I'm a great actor, I'm gonna go get it.
That's fine.
Okay.
You know, when I got out of Juilliard, some of the people that it felt to me were most resistant of change ended up having some of the best careers, which was so oxymoronic to me.
When you say resistant to change, what do you mean by that?
I mean, they insisted that who they were was just fine, and they weren't going to turn into a Juilliard robot, and my appreciation of their work was not much, not great, because I didn't see change happening. I didn't see where they were being challenged, and I didn't see surprise. I saw somebody who was very clear and assured, and now some of those people who've had great careers, I've seen their work evolve in a way that didn't happen.
Wasn't there, but now they did.
But now, yeah, they're throwing themselves in, and they're developing, and they're changing, they're morphing. So.
Any names for who these people are?
No, but you drive down the freeway and you're seeing billboards all over the place of these people, and I think some of what that is holding on to a desperate assurance that I don't need to be any different because who I am is good enough, and I get that, and I totally believe that too. I sign on. But we can be challenged, and we should be challenged. And why are we doing this life? Why are we doing this this one time around the merry-go-round if we're going to insist on being the exact same person at the end of it as when we started? I don't get that. It's never been my way, and it's not the kind of classroom that I'm interested in leading.
No, absolutely. Well, Nathan Baesel, you've been very busy with Elevated Look and crafting an amazing next level acting program, Breakthrough Acting. We ran some of the program last year, had a little bit of a close down due to the COVID spike, and now we're back. Going to be running full force this summer with the boot camps and the weekly scene study class. For people who don't know what breakthrough acting is, can you kind of break it down? What is breakthrough acting?
Well, I timed that really poorly, taking that train.
It's all good.
Well, the boot camp is really the fundamentals that we were developing in that December period. And we had 4 fantastic classes which provided the spine of the work that we're going to be doing in the boot camp.
We started as a 4-week program, and now we're
and
switched around a little bit.
We're condensing it. We're condensing it into something that's super streamlined. And by doing that, what we're doing is we're taking fundamentals and we're saying, look, here they are.
Yep.
Here are all the fundamentals. They are yours. You have them now. You can apply them to any kind of work that you're doing, whether you're doing scene work, whether you're doing monologue work, whether you're working in a collaborative project, whether you're working on an aspirational project, something that you're developing yourself, whatever it is. We've got these rules you can apply to any of the work that you're doing. And we're not going to give you a roadmap, but we'll give you handholds and guardrails along the way. And then with the scene study class, it's really a kind of application of those principles to whatever projects people are working on. You take your project, you bring it in. You take whatever it is that you're collaborating on or developing, bring that in, and we can workshop it. Essentially, is what the scene study class will be able to provide for people. So, we've got the rules and the techniques that we present in the boot camp, and then we reinforce those with the acting class.
Fantastic. Super excited about it. If people are wondering, kind of, what is breakthrough acting? What does that mean? How is this different than everything else out there? Why should I join breakthrough acting over another one of the, 1,000 classes in the Hollywood or LA area?
What we are doing is we are amplifying the actor. We are taking who it is that makes them you, you the actor. We are taking you the actor and celebrating that and amplifying it, because at the end of the day, what is commercially viable, or if you're not even have professional aspirations, if you're an actor who's just looking to develop their voice, what is unique, what is compelling, what is commercial about you, the actor, is you. It's not becoming something else. It's not transforming into a different or better version or more script accurate version of an idea of a character. It's drawing those bridges of connection between your experience and the character's experience, and then really getting out of our way so that we don't see any of these other chasms of space between ourselves and the character's experience, right? The only difference between let me put it this way. Actors tend to see the character-actor dynamic as, the script, the character's over here, and my job is to work on this script, work on this character, and get myself closer to my idea of, or maybe somebody else's idea of what this character is, Our approach is to not accept that there's any distance between character and self, to declare, essentially, that I am the character, and the character is me, and there's absolutely no separation. My experience is the character's experience, and vice versa. So as I proceed in the work, as long as I'm giving myself permission to believe myself in the work, anything that I do or say as the character is exactly what the character would do or say, simply because I declare it so. It sounds kind of esoteric, and it is.
But it makes sense. I mean,
it's
being
a
there,
mindset
it really does.
An actor has to grant themselves. It's a permission. So what we are doing in our class is we are exercising the muscularity of an actor's permission to believe themselves in circumstances or experiences that might be different from ours on paper, but the extent to which we believe ourselves into those circumstances is our effectiveness as an actor.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. That's it. It's simple.
It's simple.
It's really simple. When we think about it, like, all we're doing is getting back to our 6-year-old playing in the sandbox kind of mentality. We gave ourselves so much permission to play not just games. I mean, these were high stakes situations that we were, a game of tag is life and death to a 6-year-old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
If I get tagged, I am dead. I'm dead.
Devastated.
I'm out. I'm out for 10 minutes, 10 solid minutes at least. Do you know what I mean? And I've got to be in death. I've got to be over there in the death camp until we can do a reboot and get the game started again. Do you know what I mean? And so if the touch of the person chasing me is like inches away from me, I'm inches away from death. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
So we can believe ourselves into any kind of circumstance. Our imagination, the muscle is already there. It's a system of permission and belief.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, sometimes it sounds like a lot. It sounds kind of, not like mumbo jumbo, but it's a lot to kind of like process. But the way I was impressed, it it was surprising to me when the program first started even, it was really structured out. It really did make sense. It was broken down. Now it's even like, since we came together, it's even more efficient. It's even more understandable. And I actually really liked that because it kind of combined these big ideas and putting it into something that's digestible. And that's what's really cool. Really cool about the program.
That was valuable for me. I know you were a little hesitant at first about the idea of actually attending and being a student in the class, right? But for me, there was tremendous value in that because you don't consider yourself an actor's actor. You do everything. And acting is something that maybe you kind of dabble in, that kind of thing, but you wanted to have more facility. You wanted to have more confidence in your acting and working with actors. And so I was like, okay, here is a guy that's like, if he can get it, if it gets across,
anybody can get it.
It wasn't a low bar, but it was a test for me of can the concepts be practical, or are they going to be so esoteric that it's not useful at all? And when we wrapped things up, it felt like, there's still some streamlining and tinkering that can happen around the edges, but the ideas are there and it works.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it was a fantastic experience, and I think it was mutually beneficial to kind of bounce off one another to make the program stronger. Because that's the thing, again, I don't want to do this program just to do this program. Let's build something. Let's get it better. Let's become, the best acting program in school that's out there.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing that I think about Breakthrough Acting is, as this modern next level program, is that it is for more than just actors. It's a program that's for influencers, vloggers, entrepreneurs, CEOs. Like, it's something that can apply to a much larger audience. That's why I think it is more of a next level program, because you can take these fundamentals from the program and apply it to your industry or your performance within that industry. There's a lot of people deal with anxiety, people deal with confidence, people deal with not being honest of what they're feeling in their day-to-day and how to make that work with like doing what they're doing. And I think that's like the thing that's really special about the program and takes it to another level, because you're able to really improve yourself.
Yeah.
I hate to say it as like a self-help acting class, but in a lot of ways, it's a personal development that's happening. It's a change within yourself that's happening as you're going through, learning a lot of the fundamentals of acting.
Yeah, the more it was developing, the more I realized that the techniques that we're developing were techniques that could be and should be applied to daily life just as much, if not more, than with acting. That if we were working on our voice, our expression, our sense of being in a moment, where we're at in our experience, right here, right now, the extent to which our right here, right now experience is getting plugged into our work. I realized that those things that get in the way of our expression and our experience getting voiced through our work, the more we address those obstacles in our day-to-day life, the more help we're going to have in our acting, in our work. It just went hand in hand. We're taking a look at who we are when we're challenged. Like I said, breakthroughs and breakdowns, they are often interrelated. One stands in the way of the other. And the breakdowns that we experience along the way to break through they're not going to be just relegated to our working life.
What would be an example of people like, oh, you talked about breakdowns. What is a
Well,
breakdown?
for me, a big one for me is physical tension. I think a lot of people identify with that. You know, especially when the stakes are high, you know, when I'm feeling pressure, when I'm feeling uncomfortable, when I'm feeling confused, when I'm feeling like I need to deliver, you know, I get wound up. I get wound up specifically here. I get wound up specifically here. I get wound up here. I get wound up here. I get wound up here in my breath, you know.
And what does that do to you in regular life?
What that
in
does
acting?
is it shuts me down. It shuts down my facility of expression.
It gets into you mentally as well? Like it affects
Absolutely.
your mental health?
Psychologically, emotionally, and physically, these systems are all related.
Yeah.
So if you're getting impacted in one, you're getting
It's
impacted
going to
in
affect
all.
the others most of the time.
I like to think of things in terms of like a wagon wheel or a bicycle wheel. Our expression is all the avenues of expression are these spokes on the wheel, you know, and we tend to have our hub oriented a little bit off center. I tend to carry around a whole lot more physical tension than I really need to. And what that does is that shuts down my range in other areas of the hub that of the wheel that I want to access. If I'm leaning into physical tension, first of all, you know, when your hub is off center, the wheel doesn't work. You know, the thing is a you know, a hobbling mess. So what I have to do is try to, and with some techniques I can, reorient myself along that hub so that I have equal access to all the spokes of my expression, so that I can access my joy just as easily as I can access my, you know, rage or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah. Is it ever too late to get into acting?
No, it is never too late. If my father were alive today, I would be making him attend these classes.
Really?
Yeah, I would.
You're not just saying that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm bringing my son.
Oh,
He's going to be attending these classes
fantastic.
because he has decided that he wants to, without, you know, I haven't been pushing him in this direction at all. Believe me, I have not been pushing him in this direction, but he feels like he wants to explore his acting more. And I have insisted that if that's a real intention of yours, this is a tremendous resource that you're never going to find anywhere else.
That's great.
So he's going to
That's
be
exciting.
attending our
I'm sharing this now.
It's thrilling
Two
for me.
Baesels in the breakthrough acting program.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to pretend like I know what I'm talking about now.
No, you've been great, man. You've been. I've been absolutely blown away from the beginning. So I'm sure it's going to be even better now that we've kind of worked through some of the kinks. So if you were to go back in time, before you got a career in acting, before you started out, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Get comfortable and quiet. Get comfortable and quiet. And
What does that mean?
COVID really forced me to get okay being still because there wasn't stuff going on. You couldn't. You could turn on a TV and distract yourself, but
You don't strike me as a guy who's like, oh, I gotta be doing, like, that seems more like me actually. Like, I gotta be doing things, I gotta be going places.
Maybe so. I think I can come off kind of contemplative and whatever, but you know, sometimes you only understand, you only see, you know, you only get perspective about a thing when you have distance from it. And for me, with COVID, I had distance from being plugged into relationships. I had distance from going to do things. I had distance from, you know, there was a whole bunch that was taken away. And so it became, how are you going to fill that space? And so there was a need initially, a desperation initially, to fill it with the things, more things that I can do, you know, more TV or more movies or more music or, you know, more running, you know, or whatever it is. And running as a metaphor, I got to a point where I was running so much that I was destroying my body. And I think you can take that and project
You weren't
it onto...
allowing yourself to rest.
I didn't have a process for simply being. I wasn't comfortable in simply being. I didn't know how to gauge myself unless I was plugged into the things that I was used to getting plugged into.
So what, you know, if you're telling your younger self this, like, how would you tell them to implement?
I would say I would say sit down and, you know, not do anything. You know, sit down in a chair and drink a fucking cup of coffee without doing anything else. Can you just drink a cup of coffee without, you know, reaching for your phone or doing something? Can you just sit down for the period of a cup of coffee and not do fucking anything? Can you journal? Can you meditate? Can you pray? Can you, whatever your practices are for being still and for seeking out stillness, that's what I would tell me, because I feel like only in the last few years have I started having an experience with that, and I feel like it's a crucial component in my life that has really been missing, and I know that life is going to pick up again and get busy again, and now I'm sitting with the prospect of how do I maintain stillness in a busy life, and what are the bare minimums that I need in practice in order to sustain activity.
Nathan, thank you for being on the show again. Pleasure to have you on here. Super excited about Breakthrough Acting, starting at the end of June, the boot camp, and then every Thursday night, scene study with you. You know, I saw even on the Instagram reel we posted together that somebody was like, yeah, I'm going to sign up just so I can do lines with Nathan. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of different people in that class.
I really do hope that people, even if they aren't looking to have a professional career in acting, I hope that at the very least people are seeing opportunities for themselves in terms of unleashing their imagination and their expression of their imaginative play. That's I mean, what a gift you would be giving yourself, you know?
Well, thank you, Nathan. Until next time, I'll see you in class.
All right.
Thanks for watching the Elevated Look Show. Make sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes delivered directly to you.